Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Ellie Knight. Um, Not doing so hot and kind of sick, and still at my parents' house. So I'm lying here on my parents' floor, on my pallet on their floor, and was like, I should be doing something because, capitalism teaches you that even if you're sick, even if you feel like you're dying, you have to be doing something. And I was like, I feel like I should be doing something. And so I was like, oh, you know what I could do? Because it doesn't require a lot of physical exertion, so I won't die if I do it. I should do another book review. So this is my review of Glory in Death by JD Robb. Now, I did a review of Naked in Death by JD Robb, which is the first in death book. I did that, I want to say 2 or 3, maybe even 4 years ago, and I meant to do reviews for all the books in the series because there's 40 of them, and I've read almost all of them. I'm missing 2 of the novellas, maybe, or maybe 3, and um, and that's it because this series is a big staple in my family. My grandmother read all of the books, uh, when she was alive, when they were coming out, and my mom and I both read the series. And I got my mom into the audiobooks because the narrator for the audiobooks, Susan Erickson, is amazing. And so it's like my mom, but she doesn't buy a lot of physical hard copy books. She normally gets things either on Audible or as ebooks, but the in-depth books she buys, she pre-orders them when the covers and titles are announced, and for every time a new one comes out, they come out twice a year. So, we're big fans of the series, um, and so I meant to do more regular reviews of the books, and then just life got away from me and I didn't do that, so I'm going to try and start doing that more often. But yeah, so Glory in Death is the second book, and it is my second least favorite book in the series. It used to be my least favorite, period, just flat out. I hated it for a lot of reasons, but then I just recently read the latest book, Vendetta in Death, and I actually live tweeted my reading of it because the book was so bad. It was so bad. It is the worst book this author has ever written, but I'll save that for when I review that book. Um, so Glory in Death, last time in the In Death series, uh, you know, homicide cop Eve Dallas had, uncovered a murder serial killer who was killing sex workers, and met up with Rourke, the richest man in the world, and had a new cat named Galahad, and lots of stuff. So now Eve and Rourke are dating, and she's not really comfortable with it because he's super, super rich, and he's very affectionate. And I don't mean creepy stalker affectionate, he's not following her to work or anything. But he loves her, and so he says, "I love you," and he gives her gifts sometimes, um, because he's, as she says, richer than God. And her career's going okay, and everything's, going well enough. But then successful women start being murdered. And the mystery part of this book is actually really, really good for the most part. Um, there's no, it is a perfectly executed murder mystery. You know, it the characters are all really well fleshed out. I remember I didn't guess when I read it who the killer was. I tried and I thought I knew, but I was wrong. And the thing was is that I'm really good at that normally, especially with murder mysteries, because my mom loves murder mysteries. I think she got it from my grandma. My mom loves murder mysteries, and so growing up, we would watch Law and Order, and NCIS and CSI, and Without a Trace, and In Plain Sight, and stuff like that. In Plain Sight's not quite murder mystery, but it's a procedural sort of. Anyway, so we watched all these different, cop shows basically, NYPD Blue and all that jazz, and my mom is super good at calling who did the killing, almost always. She is 99% accurate every time. Used to be when we were kids, me and my brother, we would watch these shows with my mom, and she would be like, I bet it's that guy, whoever it was. And then when it was revealed that my mom was right, me and my brother would be like, geez, Mom, stop ruining the show. Just teasing her. And my mom's really smart. And so like the fact that you get good, you have to kind of like, in our house it was sort of like a game because we had to make it into a game, otherwise it would have gotten really annoying after a while. And like me and my dad would be like, oh my god, you guys, because me and my brother got really good at it too, at being like, I bet it was that person, and then being right about it. And my dad would be like, why do I even watch the show? Why don't you guys just tell me who it is? So the fact that, especially in a crime novel, I couldn't call it was pretty good. That's like a really good thing for the writer. So JD Robb, aka Nora Roberts, she did a really really good job with the murder aspect of the book. The problem is that oh, and also the other thing, the one thing that this book that I didn't like about the book, but I didn't, not that I didn't like it, when in my rereading of the series, this is one of the things that makes me not like the book as much, is my two favorite characters aren't in it. Mavis, Eve's best friend, is like barely in the book at all. And then Peabody, who is a detective in the series at where it is right now, she's a detective. At this point, she's a uniform officer. Um, she's not in the series either because she's not introduced until book 3. But having read the series like 3 times already, when I read Naked in Death and Glory in Death, I'm like, I miss Peabody because she's so sweet and she's so cute, and I love her so much. Um, but I can't detract from like how good the book is because a character who hasn't been introduced yet isn't in it, because I mean that's silly. But it is one reason why like the book isn't my favorite, but the reason it was my least favorite until this latest book, Vendetta and Death, is because of what's going on with Eve and Rourke, because it's stupid. Now, I'm going to say this also. I'm autistic. I don't make a secret of that. Um, my life is too difficult when I try to, like, not, if I don't be upfront, if I'm not upfront about this when I meet people, I'm like, yes, I'm autistic, so just so you know. If I don't do that, there's usually miscommunication of some kind, because there's a lot of things about neurotypical people that I just don't understand. And one of them is how often neurotypical people do things that are counterproductive to what they want. So there's that, first of all. And my friend Lorien, she's so great. Lorien Kitty Books. I'll link her channel, below. But she's really good at explaining these things, and she always has been. She helped me get through high school that way and stuff, because I just didn't understand certain things. And some things, like, even when she explained it, I didn't get why things were that way, but I understood that they were that way regardless of why. And so, like, that was really helpful. But, and that's my mom's cat clawing at his scratching post. But so what that has to do with Glory and Death. So Glory and Death is my least favorite book in the series, because even Rourke, they act like idiots in this book, and it's so ridiculous. Now, I have some issues with their relationship anyway. Um, and I have some issues with their characterization, but people are flawed, and it happens. I know that. I mean, I don't expect everybody to be perfect robots. Okay, that's not the point. But the thing is that, so as I said, like, Eve is not really quite comfortable with the fact that they're in a relationship. And it's not that she doesn't love him, because she does. And I think actually that might be the problem because she is in love with him and she doesn't know what to do about it. Um, she doesn't know what to do with herself about the fact that she's in love with this man who she thinks is too good for her. And she doesn't frame it in that way, but you can tell that she doesn't think she knows that she's not the kind of woman that he's normally seen with, because he's like super rich and super quote unquote classy and wears like designer suits and stuff, and she, wears crappy old jeans and drinks cheap beer and whatever. And so in her mind, she's not right for him, but he is in love with her anyway, and she knows that he's in love with her, and she knows that she's in love with him, and I guess it makes her uncomfortable. And I could see it kind of making her uncomfortable, like worried. I could see her being worried that it's gonna, like, she's gonna get too emotionally invested and then it's gonna all blow up in her face. Like, I mean, who can't relate to that? But at the same time, the things they fight about are so dumb. And maybe it's just because sometimes when you're worried about a big thing, you fight over stupid shit. Like, I know that when people are really stressed out, that they will sometimes, like, get, like, freak out about, like, really stupid little things. And so I get that. I get that that happens, but I don't know. So, like, just as an example, Rourke is off doing, like, some business thing, and he comes back and he has this diamond, and it's a necklace. And he's like, I bought this because I saw it and I thought of you. And she's like, I'm not taking that. Like, just flat out. She's like, I don't want it. And she's really mean about it, which, now, I'm not going to say that she's obligated to take it. That's not what they actually fight about. She gets upset because he got her the diamond, right? And she's like, I don't want it. I don't want your gifts. I want you to stop giving me things. And he's, like, super confused. He's like, what's going on? Like, why are you so upset right now? Like, I don't understand what's happening. And she's like, I know what you're doing. And this is when she, like, this is when they actually fight, because she goes from being just like, I don't want this, to being like, here's why I don't want it. The reason she doesn't want this diamond and all the things that he does for her, she says, this isn't true, is that she knows, quote unquote, knows, that he's apparently training her like some pet to respond to him the way he wants her to respond. And that's why he gives her things, and that's why he tells her he loves her. Not because he actually loves her, but because he's trying to control her, which is not true at all, and obviously hurts his feelings. And so they break up. Now, the thing is that I knew going into the series the first time, I knew that they didn't stay broken up, because I remember when I was a kid, maybe like 10 or 11, and I was at my grandma's house with my mom, and my mom was reading, like, my grandma was reading, like, one of the in-death books, and my mom was reading the one right before that, and we were just all sitting in my grandma's living room reading. So my grandma was in her rocking chair, my mom was on the couch, my grandpa was actually reading also, if I remember right, in his recliner, and I was sitting on the floor because I was like 10 and I could do that, reading a Fear Street novel. But I remember looking up and thinking that my mom and my grandma's books looked very similar. And so I was like, what are you guys reading? And they both told me that they were reading the in-death books, and that when my grandma finished the one she was reading, she was going to give it to my mom. And so I was like, oh, can I see it? Because I wanted to read the blurb on the inside flap thing to see if it was interesting. And so my grandma handed me the book, and it mentioned Eve's husband, Rourke. And I still remember that mostly because of the family part of the memory, not because I was particularly interested in the in-death series at that time. But so I knew they didn't stay broken up. Like, even going into the series, I knew that they were going to get married at some point. And since they hadn't gotten married in book 2, I knew that was still to come. So I was like, okay, they're going to break up, and then, like, maybe they'll get back together in another book, or maybe they'll get back together in this book after everything calms down. But instead it turns into, like, this whole big thing. And I'm like, really? And it's not like he's, like, going around, like, boffing every woman in the world because, trying to get over her or something. But basically,
like, every time they see each other, they're rude to each other. And, like, maybe some people would think that they're not being that rude, but, like, Eve's former partner and her mentor, Feeney, Captain Feeney, he even mentions at one point, he's like, I don't know what you did to piss him off, but he is pissed at you. And they were, like, being, like, super chilly polite to each other at a public thing. And then they, like, you know, separated and went their separate ways. And Feeney was like, holy shit, like, what even the hell? And so, like, they end up having this big fight because she's trying to clear him of having anything to do with the murder, of course, again. Look, I'm glad they don't go into this. You know, Rourke could be a suspect more than twice, because that gets boring after a while. She's trying to clear him, but because they're mad at each other, they're like snarking each other to death. So she goes over to his house at like freaking midnight or something, and is like, yeah, we're gonna do an interview like right now. And he's like, fine, what do you want? And I'm like, oh my god, you're such children. And the thing is, they're like in their mid-30s, so they're older than I am right now. And even when I read this the first time, when I was like 19 or 20, I remember thinking, this is the stupidest thing. Like, what even the fuck is happening right now? And they're just so immature about it. And like, I can't even blame the author for them, or like, I can't say that, you know, maybe it's because the author was young, because she wasn't. Nora Roberts wasn't that young in 1995 or 96, whenever this book came out. It was just, but like the drama going on between them was just so stupid. And it's the only time they get that stupid over something that insignificant. And that's why, like, it almost ruined the book for me, almost. But the murder was just, like, the mystery part was so spot on that I was like, whenever they interacted with each other, between the first fight where they broke up and the second fight, or it's not really the second fight, but the first fight where they break up, and then when they get back together during this conversation, where they're basically like, we can't the other thing is also, like, we don't get to see, even though we switch between points of view in multiple books, including the first one and in the second one, we never get Rourke's point of view after he and Eve break up, which I thought was, like, stylistically not a good choice to make, because he claims that he is, like, gutted and devastated by the fact that she's been gone, and he was, like, getting ready, he was almost like a day away from crawling to her on his knees and begging her to take him back. And I'm like, we haven't seen that at all. I would like to see that. For some reason, I really like seeing when really strong, powerful men end up on their knees in front of their women, or even their men, you know, or, you know, they're neither which. I don't care. I just like seeing really strong, powerful, like, traditionally masculine alpha characters falling to their knees and, like, you know, being, like, very open about their distress when it comes to romantic situations. One of my favorite fanfics, like top 5 fanfics ever for any fandom, was for The Lord of the Rings, and it was about Éomer, who's played by Carl Urban in the movies, and the woman that he marries, because that's actually in the appendices of The Lord of the Rings, so, like, we know canonically who he's married to. And the woman he ends up getting married to, this is in the fanfic, it's before they get married, and they got in this huge fight, and he called her a whore, I think, or called her mother a whore, something, one of the two. Anyway, it was like a whole big thing, and she basically left and, like, wouldn't speak to him until he apologized, and he came and apologized, but I was like, and he looked like shit when he showed up, and I was like, ooh, do we get, like, any flashbacks? Because the fic was first person from the girl's point of view. I was like, can we have some flashbacks, or, like, I don't know, deleted scenes of him, like, not being able to eat or sleep or anything? We didn't get any of that, and I was so disappointed. And I wrote to the author, I'm like, do we ever get this? She's like, you can write it. And she wasn't being sarcastic, she was being serious. The only reason I didn't do that was because I didn't think I could capture her characters appropriately. The way that she had drawn them, I just didn't think I could do it. I was like maybe 15 at the time that this happened. But yeah, I've always had a thing for that. And so I thought that, like, it would be great if we could see Rourke that way. And we don't. We see him like that, I think, in a later book. I might not have run into that yet in my reread. I do know that there are a couple times where, like, bad things happen to Eve, and he is essentially, like, wrecked over it. Um, I remember that, but I don't remember, like, the actual details of those things. So I'd like to see that, and I would have liked to see it in this book, and we didn't see it, and that was kind of sucky. But just the fighting was so stupid the whole time. Every time I reread the series, now I skip that part after the first time I reread it because I read it and it was annoying, and then I moved on to book 3, which is one of my favorite books in the series, and then when I reread the series the first time, I was rereading the second book, and I was like, I had a bad feeling about this. Why did I have a bad... Oh, that's why. And then after I finished it that one time, I never reread it again because I was just, the whole time, I was just like, this is bullshit. It was so stupid. So, yeah, it's like the second worst book in the series. There are some books that are in the series where the reason the books aren't very good is because, like, the mystery aspect isn't as tight and isn't nailed down as well. Like, Concealment in Death has that problem. Sometimes there's the issue of, like, yeah, Eve has to investigate the murder of a person, and it turns out that person really actually, like, legit deserved to die. And so it sucks that she has to, like, bust the person that killed them, but she has to, and so that's why it's not a favorite. But it's less about, but it's usually like, I can still enjoy the book. I did not enjoy Glory and Death, like most of the relationship part of Glory and Death at all. It was just, they were so immature. And, like, at 19, 20, I should not be reading a book about people in their mid-30s and thinking that they're acting, that they're being immature. That's ridiculous. And maybe it's because I'm autistic. Maybe that's why I don't get it. I don't know. I just think it's dumb. Like, why can't you just communicate? Why can't you just have a fucking conversation? Especially since, considering their jobs, they have to be good communicators. And yet somehow they manage to, like, it turns into this whole big blow-up thing. I don't know. But, I mean, like, I don't expect other people to dislike it as much as I did, though. In fact, actually, a lot of people seem to like it. Also, we get to meet Nadine, and, like, really get to know her in Nadine first. She's a reporter in this book, and she is one of my favorite characters. Basically, Eve accumulates female friends over the course of the series, and Nadine is the second one. The first one is Mavis, and Eve has Mavis at the beginning of the series. Like, we don't see her meet Mavis. She's already met Mavis, and they've already become best friends. And so the first one we see where she, like, really connects with someone, like, on the page as a friend is Nadine, and I really like Nadine. She's a good person. She's smart. She's good at her job. She's pretty, which, I mean, pretty doesn't make me, automatically like somebody. But, I mean, like, she knows how to take what she's got and use it for her job. She's good at her job in, like, not just, like, investigating, but the reporting part. So Nadine is, like, a big perk of the book for anyone who is on the fence about whether or not they should read it. Because you get to meet her, and then the next book you get to meet Peabody, and so, there's some good things, I guess, in Glory and Death. And I wouldn't say I even hate the book. I just don't like it. The only book in the series that I hate is the one that I just read, which I will be reviewing at a later date. Anyway, so that's my review of Glory and Death. It's okay, I guess. It's my least favorite in the series, but it's not like hot garbage that I want to set on fire or anything. So, yeah, check out JD Robb. She's great. Nora Roberts seems like she's kind of a bitch. But, I mean, she could have just been having an off day. I don't know. I'm not sure. I would have to do more research than I feel like doing to find out if she's actually a bad person or if she was just having a crappy day that day. Anyway, press the like button if you love me, subscribe for more of me, And because I do not feel well and my brain is really foggy, I don't remember my patron list right now. So I'm going to post it at the end of this video in pretty font, because I love you guys and you guys deserve a pretty font page of your own. But yeah, press the like button if you love me, subscribe for more of me, and I will see you guys later. Bye bye!